Hello travelers, this is the latest installment on July 30th, 2023 of the latest news in cruising and travel. I'm Joe with Travels with Joe and Ely. I'm going to talk to you today about some not so good news and a few things that are good. First to start with is some of the bad news. It has to do with Amsterdam. There's a lot of news regarding the limit or cancellation of cruise lines going into Amsterdam. That has actually been going on apparently for several years, according to my sources. The city council in Amsterdam voted to ban cruise ships. However, that is not going to take effect anytime soon. There's a lot of steps to take, and the CLIA, which is the Cruise Line Industry Association, has stated that that's going to take a while. They actually want to move the cruise port and decrease the tourism and pollution in the main area of Amsterdam. We were there in 2019. We flew into Amsterdam to pick up the cruise ship there. It's stated in my sources that only about 1% of tourists come through the cruise ships into Amsterdam, so I don't know how much that's going to impact their tourism. Probably not significant if it's only 1%. Moving on to some other not so good news is the news that the European Union countries, all 30 of them or so, are going to be requiring everyone from many different countries to have a visa starting in January of 2024. This may be delayed because there are apparently some problems with implementing this whole thing. The reason they're giving about having to have this visa is for security reasons, because they want to make their borders more secure, and they want to avoid, I guess, they're getting more terrorist threats, so they want to try to keep an eye on people entering their countries because of this. So that's the reason given for this visa. So I don't know what threats they've received or what, but many countries, over 60 countries, are going to be included. I will post a link down in the comments of some of the place you can look at which countries are going to require visas and which countries are going to need to have visas before you enter the country, which is the most common ones: France, Spain, Greece, places like that. It's going to be a bummer. It's not going to cost a lot. It's about €8 or so, €7, something like that. And it should only take a few minutes, according to my sources, and it may be approved for you within just a few minutes, or sometimes a few hours, maybe up to 3 days. If there's an issue, it may take up to 30 days. And if you get declined, you can appeal that through their sources. There will be an app or some websites you can go to apply. They're going to want your passport information, your address and things like that, whether you have a criminal history, and your occupation before they approve you. To me, I don't like it. I think it's ridiculous. It came out of nowhere. I didn't even hear about this until just this week, and I'm not happy about it. I think it's I don't know if it's just to make money or what, but I don't buy the whole thing that it's just for security reasons. But anyway, that's not my call. So a lot of countries are involved, including South American, North America countries, other European countries, Asian countries are going to be affected by this. So before you make any travel plans for 2024 and later, you should get this approved just in case. Any flights, hotels, cruises, whatever. The system that's responsible for all this is called the European Travel Information and Authorization System, also known as ETIAS. I didn't realize it, but apparently the United States has had something like this for about 15 years, where people from over there have to pay about $21 to apply and enter the U.S. These new visas are good for 3 years, or until if your passport expires before 3 years, it will expire as well. It is going to be a unique number to you, and you have to show that number as well as your passport, and you're still not guaranteed going into that country unless if you have all the other information and things needed. But that shouldn't be a problem. That has not changed. So it's just one more thing to deal with when traveling Europe. I'm very disappointed in it. Not only is it good for 3 years, but it's good for, you can spend up to 90 days in that country, and you can enter and leave as many times as you want. So that is not affected with this visa, such as other visas where you only have one entry or something like that. So, but I guess it's just a monitoring system of who's in and out of the European Union. One visa apparently is good for the whole 30 countries of the European Union, so you don't need one for every single country, which I was kind of wondering if you were going to need one. That would be quite tedious and fairly expensive. I am posting a link below that lists the countries that are going to require this visa, which are pretty standard for most people that know Europe, and it lists the countries that are going to have to get this visa, the citizens of those countries. Okay, on to some good news. Most of you know that we sail Holland America because we like it, and so they just announced a 42-day itinerary cruise on the Volendam for, it's going to be November 4th of 2024 to commemorate a February of 1925 cruise, and it's going to be 42 days. It leaves out of Fort Lauderdale and it comes back to Fort Lauderdale. It's going to hit several countries, including two locations in the Azores, Tunisia, Morocco, Spain, Athens, Greece. It's going to have overnight in Livorno, Italy, which lets you go to take an excursion if you want to go to Florence or Pisa. It's also going to have an overnight stay in Civitavecchia, which is the port close to Rome, so you can spend, if you want, an overnight excursion into Rome and see the sights there, which is really cool because in the past we've had to go and take a one-day excursion and you have a 1.5 hour minimum travel each way, so it cuts into your excursion time. So this is really, really neat. It's also going to hit Sicily and Morocco, if I didn't mention that before. It's also going to a couple of ports in Israel and Egypt. So it's going to be a great cruise. The cost so far, what I've seen, is about $5,700 for either indoor or ocean view, and it's much higher for the suites and the balcony ones, which are actually the same price. So I don't know if we'll be able to go on that, but probably not, but that's a really cool cruise. So one of the great things for Canadian and U.S. Citizens is that it begins and ends in Fort Lauderdale, so you actually don't have to fly into any international cities to catch the ship or get off the ship. So that's a good one thing there too. It probably saves some money. More good news on Holland America. I just read where they are, for old people like myself and others over the age of 50, if you are an AARP member, you can get onboard credit for the cabin, not for each person in the cabin, but per cabin you can get basically the same amount of cruise credit as you would if you were a stockholder of 100 shares or more. It's $50, $100, or $200 depending on the length of the cruise. This does not apply to cruises of 5 days or less, or the Grand Voyage cruises or segments of that. It does not apply to those, but it does apply to the other ones. So that's really good news. So I'm going to try to take advantage of that because I am an AARP member. So I'm going to try to add that onto our already cruise. More good news on Holland America, or actually the corporation Carnival Cruise Line, which owns several cruise lines, including Holland, Carnival, P&O, Cunard, Princess. If you own 100 shares or more, you get cruise credits when you sail. I mentioned that on my previous news video. We're going to get $250 of cruise credit, which our cruise is long enough for that. I can't remember. I think it's 14 days or longer. You get up $250 of cruise credit. I did it last week. It was very easy. I sent them the information of my stock holdings on Monday in an email and with an attachment of my statement with my account number blacked out, and they said it might take several days due to them being so busy. Actually, it happened the next day. I got the cruise credit. I got an email saying that, and it's going to be applied when we check in for our cruise in a few weeks. So that was very fast. So we get $250 of cruise credit. I wish I had bought more Carnival cruise stock when I should have. I thought about it and I didn't. it has gone way up, as have other cruise lines. For instance, it closed at 27 cents higher on Friday at $18.49 a share. I was checking, it was at a low of $8.55 on March 17th. Can you imagine if you had bought $10,000 worth of, that would have been 1,169 shares, and your stock would now be worth $21,625. Wow, what a return, over 100% return. As far as other cruise lines, I checked about Royal Caribbean. Royal Caribbean is now at $108.57 a share. It's gone up 180% this year alone. The reports are that way up in people signing on board to cruise with them, and I think this is all across the board, so it's a great time for cruise industry. It may still be a good time to buy the stock, I don't know. I'm usually not too great at getting stocks. I usually make mistakes. My stock purchases usually go down the day after I purchase them, but in this case it would have been fantastic to have bought Carnival or any of the other ones. So that's fantastic news. Stay tuned, watch and subscribe to our channel. We would appreciate it. We're going to be on this cruise, and we're going to start filming there on the cruise ship. So we have lots more to come. We're going to have a lot of short videos as well as long videos for you to watch and enjoy and learn from our experiences. The shirt I have here is commemorating of my alma mater, the University of Oklahoma. The women's softball team just won their third straight Women's World Series championship in the college ranks. They only lost one game by 1 run this whole year, so I got for Father's Day a shirt to commemorate that. It's fantastic. I love it. Anyway, so just an FYI, nothing else. So we'll see you on the next video and the next cruise. Bye. Ciao for now.